A little trouble getting on this morning. I don't know why, but my live feed video wouldn't come on. So check. Let's see if we can get this thing started today. You know, it's Thanksgiving out there. So how's everybody doing on Thanksgiving? Hope you're getting ready to spend your day doing whatever it is. You might be working. I used to work a lot on Thanksgiving, especially when I was before I became an actor, and I was working in retail. I always worked Black Friday. I always worked Thanksgiving night, very late, because stores were open, and so you know it was what it was. And I was usually managing the store, so you know you have to be there when things are good. But let's kick it off today. Get it? Football joke for it being Thursday. You know. Thanksgiving Thursday, and so we're gonna kick it off. My guest today, my guest today, uh, my guest today. Are you serious? My guest today, my guest today. Forgive me. My guest today, I got distracted as usual on this show. My guest today, it was on a lot of television shows. A lot of television shows you've heard of. Adam 12, Dallas. One of the shows that she appeared on, of course, was The Brady Bunch. And they told me, they said, Jason, they said, do not focus on The Brady Bunch. So, you know, oh, my nose! Oh, my nose. Oh, my nose. Oh, so anyway, we won't focus on the Brady Bunch today, but we will enjoy our time as we're going to do with our guest Debi Storm, who, as I mentioned, was on the Brady Bunch. But we're not going to focus on that. We're not going to focus on that, as I said. So let's move on. Before we bring on our illustrious guest, who was a wonderful child actor, Debi Storm. You know how we do on this show. I give it to you. What happened during my week? As you guys know, I'm a working actor, and I have a lot of wild stories that happened to me during the week. So, however, you know, and of course this week I did all the usual stuff that I do. I made commercials. You know, I did movies. Look at this. I want to show you this. Check this out. This is from the set. Look at that. Isn't that funny? This is from the set of a movie called Remedy that I shot last weekend, and I talked about it on the show. If you watch the show week after week, which you should, then you'll know the stories. So, because otherwise you're just missing out. So, anyway, this photo is a fake family photo, and it was used in a couple of scenes in the movie. And because these people are just like me, they're actors. And but I always wanted to be in a movie that had fake family pictures in it, where I was like, man, that's cool. Like they took either like you when you were younger, or they went out and shot some photos and then they used them in the movie. I always thought that was cool, so they let me keep this. So happy Thanksgiving from my fake family to you guys. My real family, of course. Doesn't care about that. So no, of course, but we're not we're not bringing them into this. Speaking of my family, my daughter took me to the circus last week. Actually, this week was it? When was it? We went on Saturday, and which brings us to this amazing mug I'm drinking out of this week. Look at that, from Circus Vargas. This amazing mug, I got it at the circus, and the circus, believe it or not, sells coffee. So you can get coffee with your clown mug at the circus. And so the thing about the circus I wanted to talk about is, so when I was a kid, I used to go to the circus like my grandparents would take me. And I've been to the circus in Madison Square Garden. And for those who don't know, because we have a lot of people who watch on the other side of the other side of the world there. So shout out to my friends in the UK and India and all over the world that support the show. But I wanted to tell you that, so I'm a big fan of the circus. And I used to go to Madison Square Garden, which is in New York. And it's this big illustrious place to especially see the circus. And so I have really fond memories of the circus. And I've seen all of that stuff, from Gunther Gable-Williams, the Lion Tamer, to the big elephants and all that things. And so I'm a huge collector of stuff. You guys know that. You know, I keep a lot of cool things, and I'm big into circus memorabilia, and freak show type of things. And so my daughter got me tickets to the circus for my birthday, which was the beginning of the month. And we went to the circus. It was fantastic. It was great show. I love seeing it. But the thing about it that really is they no longer have the animals, because here we're against the animals. In fact, I just read that France is outlawing use of animals, live animals in their shows. And in any circus performance, you can't use live animals. So we went to the circus, and they weren't using live animals. They had stuffed animals that were that they had like moved. And I don't mean like people or like realistic looking. I mean like a kind you would buy at the store. And then they added a little paw to it. And the idea was that they made it so that, like, remember when the circus had all these things, and remember when, and, remember that the circus used to be all this illustrious stuff. And, for me, it was almost like, I was like, man, I at what point I understand that the animals, right, they that's really probably not best for the animals. I remember going to the fair and paying like, 50 cents and seeing this like 16-foot gator that essentially lived in a 16-foot trailer. Like, there was nowhere for it to go. So I understand that that's not probably right for the animals, but I was almost like, really? I was almost like, so my daughter didn't feel that way. She thought, oh, the tribute to the animals was cool. I thought the tribute to the animals was sad. Like, for me, it was like, man, remember when they had real animals here, and now they just sort of tribute the circus? So, to me, it was a really cool experience. But the best part, the clowns come out, right? Now, I love clowns and the whole bit, and I'm not one of those guys that's like afraid of clowns. I don't give a damn about that, right? Like scary clowns, like, come on, people. And, but this kid behind us was laughing hysterically, like belly laughing. Some child was like belly laughing watching the circus. And man, I'll tell you, that took me back. That was like a magical moment when that kid was like belly laughing at the clowns, man. And all the adults were turning around looking at each other. I mean, and there were a lot of adults there. There were a lot of adults there that weren't with kids. There were like people like me, like who just came to be entertained. And to hear this kid laugh, man, was worth every penny I paid to go in there. And man, so what a cool experience that was. If you could get to see the circus, do it. It's not going to be here very long. There's not a lot of money in it. It's one of those things that's fading away that I believe is sort of important, But speaking of bad ideas from the past, I saw Ghostbusters. I went to Jack in the Box, and that's all I'm going to say about Ghostbusters, man. Bad idea from the past. What? Are you serious? Ghostbusters, dude, what? That's it. That's all I'm going to say. No spoilers. I got to tell you this other story that happened to me. It's way funnier than any of this Ghostbusters junk. I go to Jack in the Box. On my way to set. I usually do. I go to Jack in the Box or McDonald's or something. I like to eat fast food, man. I really do. And to me, it makes driving in LA so much better, because I don't want to pay attention, right? I got like a burger and I got like things going on, I'm having my coffee or rapping, or whatever I'm doing. So, it makes the drive easier, right? It gives me something to do while I'm driving. And I go up to Jack in the Box, and these people in front of me, I can hear them, my window's down. And the guy says, hold on a minute, we don't know what we want. And I'm like, okay, fine, right? Already I'm like, really, you don't know what you want? You pulled up to a Jack in the Box, you kind of don't know what you want. You probably should already know what you want, but whatever. Jack in the Box has a lot of choices, fine, I don't care. So the guy's like taking forever to order. So by this point, I can hear every word they're saying, because by now I'm like in my car, like, like getting closer and closer to him. Like, hurry up, dude. And so I then hear the guy say, I want the chicken, whatever. And the guy and the lady says, do you want that in a combo? And dude says, what's in the combo? What's in the combo? At Jack in the Box. I wonder if he heard me go, oh my God, out the window, because I was so close to them. And I went, oh my God, like, really? You don't know what's in the combo? Like this week, they're going to be like, oh, well, if you order the ultimate cheeseburger, you can get broccoli and rice pilaf in your combo. Like, like, dude, really? So they, of course, come back with, it's fries and a drink. And he was all like, oh. Like, I was like, dude, where are you from that you don't know what comes in a combo at Jack in the Box? Man, so that happened this week, and I had to tell you guys about that. I want to give a shout out before I get ready to bring my guest on. I want to give a shout out to producer Warren Madden. It's his 20th wedding anniversary yesterday, so shout out to him. Which is a weird time for me to bring up that he had a crush growing up on our guest. Our guest, of course, appeared in the episode of Brady Bunch where she is... I read up on this because now I've seen a ton of Brady Bunch. I've seen a ton of it. But I've also seen every other show that our guest has been on, and I'm not going to focus on Brady Bunch as much as I'm going to. Okay, I might, but whatever, right? It's my show. So, if you hire me to do the show, you guys, you get what you get. So the deal is that she's on this episode of the Brady Bunch where she's on this episode of the Brady Bunch where she plays this nerd. And Marcia says, I can make you popular, I can make you hot. And she gives her like a makeover, and she comes back, and she's all super hot. And then they like dump pig's blood on her, and she ends up like terrorizing all the people in the gym, and John Travolta gets killed. It was horrible. So I'm pretty sure that's how the episode went. I didn't see the end of it, but I'm pretty sure that's how the end of the episode went. Is that happened. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So shout out to producer Warren Madden and his wonderful wife. I want to tell you something else I learned. Because you guys know this is the part of the show where we're going to do Handsome History. I know fascinating stuff, and it's my opportunity to share it with you. And this is the part where you come to hear me talk because you like the way I look. A lot of people, what is with you guys, I post a picture, and it's a photo of me next to a car that I don't own. And you guys are like, oh my God, you're so amazing. And all these people send me all these messages about, hey, yo, you want to do all these inappropriate things. And then they don't tune into the show to see how, how insane I really am. So maybe that's better. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But anyway, here's some handsome history for you. And I was thinking about history this week because I was thinking about Thanksgiving and, remember when the Native Americans fed undocumented immigrants from Europe? That happened in 1621. And it's 400 years ago was the first Thanksgiving. 400 years ago, I'm assuming today, whatever day they made up for it, that's a thing. Of course, we all know the Pilgrims landed in 1620. But did you know that trees, when they fell, when trees were first invented, when trees came on the scene. Which is interesting that sharks are actually older than trees. Sharks are actually older than the rings on Jupiter. Saturn. You can't do handsome history, Jason, and then misstate a planet. Do you think anyone heard? No. So, no one's listening. But anyway, trees, when they fell, they didn't break down. The bacteria that broke down trees would not be invented for another 60 million years, which is true. What happened when trees fell was that the weight from the trees just crushed on top of each other, and eventually they would turn into coal. The trees would become smashed enough that they would turn into coal. So trees didn't even decompose for 60 million years. But I just thought that was a fascinating fact to share. It's not even funny. However, here's something that is funny. The average American thinks they're smarter than the average American. I wonder if that's you. It's me. But I'm the one who's doing handsome history, and you're not. So, the Founding Fathers is a fun thing to talk about on Thanksgiving. And one of the things that I thought was really fun to hear about the Founding Fathers was how much they drank. Your average American, because it's Thanksgiving, and I'm sure we're all going to do a little drinking, but the average American drinks 2 gallons of alcohol a year. But back in the days of the Founding Fathers, they averaged 7 gallons. 7 gallons a year. That's a lot of alcohol. And there's all kinds of theories. The water wasn't good or whatever. That those different things. And that kind of stuff. But I found that interesting. And here's another fun fact about the founding fathers before we move on to our illustrious guest, Debi Storm. One more founding father fact of Handsome history. When they were cleaning up Ben Franklin's London house, they found, which I didn't know he had a London house, but why wouldn't he, right? He's like, I summer in London. So shout out to my people in the UK. Here's a fun fact about Ben Franklin. And when they excavated his house, or whatever they did to his house, they found 1,200 human bones, which belonged to 15 different people, 6 of which were children. So, there you go. That's your fabulous Thanksgiving fun fact. So keep in mind that that when you're breaking the wishbone today, think of the founding fathers and good old Ben Franklin drinking 7 gallons of alcohol, playing with child bones. And one more actual story, and I wasn't going to tell this story, but I am now, so too bad. Here we go. And again, Clown Mug, shout out to the circus. This really happened to me. One time I was at Thanksgiving. My wife and I were dating. This was before we got married. And she says, do you want to come over to my family's house for Thanksgiving? And I was like, yeah, whatever, right? I've never been a Thanksgiving guy. I could care less about Thanksgiving. I'm not that dude, man. I'm just not that guy. I don't want to eat the stuff they make. I don't even like that stuff. And a bunch of you are going to be, oh, it's my favorite. Oh, it's my favorite. I don't care. So, I love cranberry sauce. It has to be from a can. It has to have the ridges. Anyway, she goes, do you want to come to this thing? And I go, sure. I'll go to this people's house. You're going to think I'm making this up. This is 100% a true story. And I go, sure, I'll come to your house, whatever, that's fun. They go, well, it's not actually at our house. It's at a friend's house of my parents. All right, fine, I'll go, whatever. We go to these people's house, and it literally becomes it becomes one of the craziest experiences I've ever had in my life, ever. Okay, so first of all, her dad brings a green pumpkin pie. It's green because he made it with tofu. And it's not like a nice looking pumpkin pie, it's green. So we had a green pumpkin pie at the dinner table, right? So the whole time you're looking at it and you're thinking, dude, is that vomit? Like, like it is gnarly. Like, so you have to eat while you're being polite. Okay, right? I'm being polite at this point. And the other thing, so the next thing is sitting right next to the dinner table is this tank with bearded dragons in it. And I don't know if you've ever sat near bearded dragons, but they're not the best smell in the whole world. So now it's the smell. The producer's telling me I have to bring my guest on. Well, do I listen? I listen to the producers mostly. Anyway, let me get to the point. See, stop distracting me. Okay, so anyway, so I'm sitting next to the smelly tank. I'm sitting there, and then there's a green pumpkin pie on the table. And then they said, we should bring the uncle to Thanksgiving. And everyone was like, yeah, bust him out. And I go, what do you mean bust him out? And they proceed to go in the closet and bring out a dead guy in a bag. Like his cremated remains, man. And dude, he's in this bag. And I was like, I don't know, I think I was like 20 or 24. And I was like, dude, let me check him out. So I don't know if you've ever seen a cremated body, man, but it looks like a bag of seashells. Like, it's like dust, it's seashells, and I was like, whoa, it's like bone chips and stuff. Like, I'd never seen that before, and certainly didn't expect that at a Thanksgiving dinner, next to the lizards and the green pumpkin pie. So yes, I was at a Thanksgiving once where a dead guy came out of the closet. That happened. So we're going to bring on our illustrious guest. Like I said, that was a bonus story, you guys. Holy moly, I talked way too long today. Man, let's get to our guest. We got lots of fun stuff coming up. Here we go, Debi Storm. Oh my God, forgive me. Hearing my own self. It just says send an invite. Oh, and she's coming right on. I can't believe it. Of course I can believe it. Hello, Debi.
How do I follow that?
Oh man, welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zlatkus. Thank you for being here. I know you've taken a lot of time out of your day for us, so thank you.
Thank you for having me, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. So I do love the sound of my own voice. Forgive me. I was talking to my wife before this, and I go, I hope that Debbie realizes it's the Jason Zlatkus hour, and she's just a part of it. But
Dude, definitely, this is your show, and you can ask me whatever you want to ask me, and you don't have to stay away from anything. So there you go.
so let's talk about. Let's get right to it. You were from the era where obviously before the internet, obviously before, I mean, getting jobs, before now it's much easier for actors. We can submit on tape. We can do a lot of things. How, as a child, did you come to be so, I guess, so regarded in Hollywood? I mean, you were cast, and we're going to talk about this, but you were cast originally as the lead in Exorcist. You were cast by Sherwood Schwartz to be Jan, essentially. And so how did you get so connected to start? How does a child actor do that?
Well, the business back then, as you might suspect, was way different from what the business is today. We had, I was on Romper Room, and that's how my career got started. An agent saw me on Romper Room, and my mom was a single mom. She was working nights, and I mean, she was working days, and she couldn't take me on auditions. So a couple months later, she was transferred to nights, and we got a call back from that same agent, and they said, we don't have a audition for Debbie. We have a job for Debbie in a movie called The Patch of Blue with Sidney Poitier. So that was my very first film. But getting back to the question, the agent was able to walk me into the lot and introduce me to producers, directors. For me, when you went on a commercial audition, which I know you're extremely active in the commercial side, we didn't have a camera in the room. We had 8 to 10 people. So I thrive. I do much better when I go on an audition. Usually it's a callback now where they have the people in the room, because that's what I feed off of. This little thing, I was taught not to pay any attention to the camera, right? So I don't care about the camera. I want the people. And it was just a different day and time back then. A lot more, to me, was a lot more personal, a lot more personable. You got to meet a lot of people. And again, it was hand walked into places and black and white headshots on paper.
Right.
So very, very different than now.
Whenever I see people with black and white headshots, I go, oh yeah, they must have acted previously, because now the industry standard is obviously full color.
They're old, right?
So you Sherwood Schwartz, who created Brady Bunch and those things, he saw you. So then he wanted you as Jan. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep, it was a call out for dark-haired girls and blonde boys at that time, and then they flipped it and went blonde girls and dark-haired boys. So when he originally cast the middle girl's role, I was cast as Jan because I had dark hair. So this is bottle blonde here. So that's how it was just a typical casting. And then matching up people, and they just happened to flip it and go the other way.
And so then at some point he decides, or someone decides you should be a guest. You then have to re-audition. How did you end up as Molly Weber from once being a principal to now being a guest?
Again, my agent submitted me for the Molly Weber role, and it just worked. I had a screen test. I'll never forget that, because I was very nervous for some reason. It was the scene where I'm in front of the judges. And so at least it worked, because I was speaking and giving a speech. So you would have been a little bit nervous, but I remember being nervous about that. But, I am so thankful that I got that role, honestly, on a serious note. I I have done a lot of other things in the business and hope to do even more. But that one particular, and I didn't realize it till 1990, but that one particular episode, it touched so many girls when we're so geeky at that age. And it just kind of touched them and let them know that, a little curlers in the hair and a little posture, it can change, it can make a difference. And that's one of the biggest compliments that I get, is from a woman that says, wow, I really connected with that. So, interesting story. In 1990, I'm reading the morning newspaper at the table, and they're going to do this Brady Bunch live. The Solomon sisters were going to do it at the Westwood Playhouse. And I see that they're doing the Molly Weber episode, and Sandra Bernhardt's supposed to be doing my role, which would have been hysterical. But I called up and I said, I need to get some tickets to come see this show. And they said, well, who are you? I said, I am Molly. And they went, oh my God, hold on. And they put me through to the producer, and I ended up doing the show. But I walked out on stage, Jason, and they're chanting, Molly, Molly, Molly. And I'm going, oh my gosh, what is happening here? So the Brady Bunch was so important back then, in that day. It was a family show. It gave people like me that was from just a single mom, a family, to watch. And I think that's why that show and others like it were so popular back then.
Right, because that was, I guess you sort of even answered my next question, was why you've done so many things like Adam 12 and Dallas and Emergency and, huge titles. Why is the Brady Bunch the one people really hang on to? Like you could be known for anything. You were in giant films.
Pop culture, and the Brady Bunch was an entity all unto itself. It also was an episode like the Broken Nose one that you referenced in the beginning, and Davy Jones. We were guest characters on the show, and for some reason, that one episode was all about us. So it was different than a normal, typical Brady Bunch episode. Maybe that's why a couple of these episodes really stick out. But, for me, the Fugitive with David Jansen and Suzanne Pleshette, huge for me. That touched my life. Working with Bill Cosby on I Spy, that touched my life.
So you mentioned, though, before we go, I want to say that's really groovy about the Brady Bunch stuff. I told myself, you got to work in groovy as much as you can when she talks about the Brady Bunch. But so I read that you mentioned, I didn't, that was the first time I ever said it, but I intended to use it a lot more. Okay. You mentioned that David Jansen, I think I read that you said some of the actors liked working with kids, but he was one who didn't.
And that is true. In the beginning, he and you know what? I don't even know there was so much working with the kids as it was working with some of the parents of the children. So
that's real talk.
That's real talk. He was standoffish at first, and then he just warmed right up. And I'll tell you, if there's one person, two people, Suzanne Pleshette was my mom in that show. The chemistry between those two, as a little girl, I saw it and I said, you know what? When I grow up, I want a love like that. There was fire, there was connection. It was just amazing to watch it. And
that's what you're saying, is it touched you more on a personal level?
Yes. Yeah.
And so then how does I Spy, obviously, a super famous show. I mean, everyone knows that there was a film and, a whole bunch of stuff, but how did that touch you? What's the story there?
First of all, it was with Richard Kiel was a guest on the episode. So he's
Jaws.
7'2", and he actually I could wrap my hands like this around his forefinger, and he would lift me up in the air. And Mr. Cosby was wonderful to me. Took me around piggyback on the set and gave me Sprite. just the experience. I was more of a dramatic actress, Jason, when I was, if you needed somebody to scream, cry, be beaten, be blind, that was between me and one other actress in town. So, so it was such a good experience for me, but, some things about some shows, it's more the people, right? Okay, you're on TV. Okay, you have a character. Okay, all of that. But the stories behind the people that you get to know personally, and that's something I really wanted to touch on. And if you don't mind me getting a little serious, quickly, and then we can be boss and bitching and groovy. It's celebrities are no different than anybody else. There's good ones, and then there's jerks, and they come in all walks of life, all working situations. So I think it's the story people bring and the dreams that we all have. And in this culture, in this time in the world, gosh, the one thing we need to be is kind and nice, caring, and goofy and silly like you are. And you said your family doesn't give a crap about what you do. Neither did mine. Yeah, okay, mom's on TV. Who cares? But anyway,
Yeah.
that's all I wanted to say.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad a serious moment, and believe me, the show's not all, we do real stuff on the show too.
I did not kill John Travolta. I want to make that clear.
That's right. The ending, it doesn't go that way. I'm pretty sure that was somebody else. The thing about it that you mentioned though is that the people on set, that's what made me want to be an actor. Was I went to him, I was on set for a film that I've been casting, and I really didn't, it was like my first acting job, and the people there, they became like family, and it was like, and then I came home and this is all I ever want to do now, and which is basically choosing to be broke, but I'd like to be broke, but I also want to really connect with people, and that's if you want to be an actor, right?
That's it.
So.
That's it. I remember back and thinking, looking back, if I could change one thing about that whole, so many of the child actors, when they weren't cute anymore or outgrew it, they didn't have any place to go. They didn't have any vocation. And while we were on set in school for 3 hours, part of that should have been learning the other parts of the business, the makeup, the lighting, the camera, the props, and that way some of these kids could have stayed in the industry that they really loved. Just a thought,
That's remarkable because, well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that's remarkable because I think a lot of people don't think of that. I tell my kids, I say, listen, my kid, they want to be actors. And I say, that's all well and good, but you can't rely on that. You need to have a backup plan. You have to have a real, because I'm marketing and business is my background. That's my major. And, so, I tell my kids, you can't rely on that. You can't rely on acting money because it's hit or miss for one. What happens when you're not cute anymore, right? There's a lot of pitfalls,
There is.
I mean,
It brings me to, it just reminded me of your combo story because, I've been a server. I've also worked in cosmetics and worked for some of the major cosmetic lines, funding my acting habit. And you mentioned the Jack in the Box combo. Well, I was working at a restaurant called Wood Ranch. It's a barbecue restaurant right there in Burbank. And, we had this tri-tip, fabulous. And so I asked the gentleman at the table, he was with his wife and his daughter. I said, what would you like to have for dinner tonight? And he says, well, I'd like to have the tri-tip. And I said, well, would you like the 7-ounce or the 10-ounce tri-tip? And he looked at me and he goes, well, what's the difference? And I looked at his wife and she looked back at me. I looked at him and I went, 3 ounces? 3 ounces? Come on, guys.
Right. Right. I worked at a chocolate shop, and a lady came in, and we were selling popcorn, and it was caramel chocolate popcorn, and she comes in and she goes, "What's the brown stuff on this popcorn?" And I didn't understand the question. Like I was like, I'm sorry. And she was like, the brown stuff. And finally, like, I just went, "It's chocolate." And she went, "Oh, that's chocolate?" Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, that's what it's like. So that's the other stupidest career to pick, is retail, right? Acting, retail, like.
Oh yeah. And you have to have a sense of humor,
So it's funny that you mentioned being a server, because the old saying, "Oh, you're an actor. What restaurant do you work at?"
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but I love it because I love people. Even the doofuses, I still love them, and somebody's having a bad day. Again, the same principle that goes into everything, right? If we're the people that we are, you want to make somebody's life a little bit better. You want to tell a story through a character and make somebody feel something good, bad, anger, whatever. You just want to make them feel. Same way with serving. If I can make your day better by serving you a plate of spaghetti, I'm not serving spaghetti, I'm serving me, So I made it fun, and I truly loved it. I worked with the most amazing kids. I was mom, of course, at the restaurant, and they were all my kids, and we just had a good time. So
right, there's a lot of correlation. An actor is, when you're a server, the food is one thing, but you are performing for a tip. So it is the same thing. And I think it's really important you mentioned something that I've had trouble expressing myself, and I tell my wife this, but it isn't about the money. It isn't about, whatever. For me as an actor, it's about really making someone, like, I love that moment, like you said you had at the Brady Bunch, where somebody comes up and goes, "Man, what you did really touched me." That to me is the payoff for being an actor.
yeah.
Or what you did made me laugh.
I have a really good story about that. And there was a stage play with Noel Harrison, and it was called Joe Egg. And I got the lead, but leading up to that, I had an interview for it. It was for an epileptic, and I didn't know what an epileptic was. And mind you, I'm probably about 10, 11. And so I went, did my best. But then that night, my mom had promised me jeans from May Company. So we're shopping. We get done. We're going down the escalator. At the bottom of the escalator, there's a little girl throwing an epileptic seizure. And I said, "Mom, get home." I said, because I'm going to have a call back. We walked through the door. The phone was ringing. So that, again, one of those moments that was meant to be mine. And during the production, a mom wheeled a little girl backstage, and I was coming out the side door and wheeled. I'll never forget this moment. And this little girl just reached out her arms to me and looked up, and she just said, "I love you." And so it, again, that's what we have. They call this an opportunity. There's a lot of downsides to it too that people don't know about.
Yeah.
But that's the opportunity right there.
It's what, I love that story. That's so amazing. I think the best part is that you had to run home because the phone was going to ring. I was like, why didn't you just call your cell phone? Because it wasn't.
Okay, that's enough of that. You're saying I'm old, buddy.
Right. No, I mean, I was there when that happened. I remember before cell phones. I mean, I was working at the mall, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me. I love that you mentioned Romper Room. So that means you must be from the Bay Area then. Are you from San Francisco?
No. I actually was born in Brooklyn, but I was raised out here. We lived in Orange County as a really young girl, and then Mom moved us up to Hollywood, and then ended up in Burbank at Burbank High. But we went to a taping of a game show, and my mom and I are sitting there, and there's two young girls sitting next to me. They were the daughters of the teacher from Romper Room. And it was, gosh, I can tell you where it was. I want to say it was KTLA, but I could be wrong. It was at the corner of Willoughby, there was a studio there, Willoughby, and just south of Santa Monica. and that's where it was filmed. So, but
I thought it was always taped in San Francisco. I thought that's where they shot it.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't
no,
realize that. Okay, well, I mean, I
yeah.
grew up on it, so let me.
And
Speaking of,
Dinah Shore was actually on that episode that I was on, which was pretty cool to find out like a couple years ago. So, yeah.
just a couple of years ago, you found out Dinah Shore was on an episode with you.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. People come up to me sometimes and they'll go, "Hey, I modeled with you," and I was like, "You did?" Like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
So speaking of shows that my mom wants to hear about, let's talk about Dallas. If I don't talk about Patty Duke and if I don't talk about Dallas, then my mom will be like, "Jason, you better." So will you give me tell us a little bit? I watched a lot of Patty Duke because it was on Nickelodeon back east, and when Nickelodeon first started, it was only a back east channel. And so
right.
I remember seeing it on Nick at Night and watching a lot of that show, Patty Duke show. So what was that?
That was really early on. So I have very vague memories of that particular show, but I remember John Forsythe and I remember Patty Duke and a telephone. I was on the telephone, but I don't actually remember a whole lot about that episode.
That's okay. I mentioned Patty Duke. My mom can be happy.
There you go.
Tell us about Dallas then. And were you there when JR was shot? Were your prints on that gun?
Charlene Telton is a very old dear friend of mine from junior high in Hollywood. And I happened to be living in Dallas. And it was interesting because I was a big fish in a small pond there and a little fish in a big pond out here. But I moved to Dallas and they had auditions. I went on the audition. I ended up doing 2 episodes of Dallas. Not a big role. I was a cheerleader with Charlene. Great photo in the local paper with me in the front with her. Whatever happened, I want to say it was the episode Whatever Happened to Baby John. So, yeah.
Okay. But that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's funny, I had a Charlene Tilton autograph and I don't know where it went, but I had it somewhere. That's funny, it's weird, growing up, we get people's autographs and you were friends with her the whole time. And, that's interesting how we do that. Let me ask you another thing. You were on an ABC after school special, which is another thing I grew up on. So what is that one about? Is it wild?
No, it's not wild. It was Blind Sunday. Gosh, I should have been prepared for this question, but the actors on it were fantastic. Jewel was the girl's name, and the guy's name, the lead. He's an amazing actor, an amazing person, and I can't think of his name at the moment. But Blind Sunday, about a blind girl. The other.
And what happens to so you play the blind girl?
No, Jewel is the blind girl. I'm one of the friends.
Oh, okay. You're one of the friends.
It was a guest spot. But the one that another not after school special, but special was Escape from Bogan County with Jacqueline Smith. And that was fabulous. Let me tell you, I walked in one morning. Here's this woman that has her hair up in a ponytail, rolled in curlers, with a black fishnet stocking over the curlers, and you look at her and you go, damn, that's beautiful. And inside and out. Anyway, I take her husband to bed, basically. I'm an 18-year-old, and he's just a creepy old sheriff in town, and he's kind of takes me and flaunts me in front of her because he's trying to make her upset and angry, and he's just a jerk. Anyway.
That was an after-school special?
It wasn't an after-school special. It was a CBS TV special, I think.
Oh, I'm going, man.
Yeah, no, that's,
That'd be pretty
yeah.
rough to come home. Hey,
You know
kids.
what? It probably would work in today's time.
Right? Hey, kids, if you're 18, don't sleep with this old dirty creep sheriff.
That's right.
So what a weird thing. That's a weird, but anyway, I mean, for kids, that would be weird. But obviously for adults,
Yeah.
that's just any standard show by today's standards, like you said.
Pretty much, yeah.
So let me, I want to play a quick game with you. We're going to run out of time, but I came up with some fun things. And it's Brady Bunch related, of course. But I came up with, it's sassy quotes that the women characters on the Brady Bunch said. And so you got to tell me who said it. Okay?
Okay. I'll give it my best shot.
Okay. So the first one is, glasses. Oh no, Mom, not glasses. They'll make me look absolutely, positively goofy.
I would have to say that was either Jan or Cindy.
Jan is the correct answer. All right, here's the next one. You just don't want to be seen with a girl who has braces like I do now. I hate you, Alan Anthony. I hate everybody.
Wow. That was either Marcia or Jan, but probably Jan too.
Marcia is the answer on that one.
Okay.
All right, here's the next one. I'm not a snitcher. I just tell it like it is. We're back. Man, nothing but technical difficulties on this show. That's all we have, technical difficulties, I guess I should say. Technical difficulties is part of the deal here. We're going to have to figure out a better format because I don't know how else to do this. Oh, wrapping it up today. Let's get Debi Storm back on here now that this has happened.
And we're back.
I don't know what happened. You know what? It just dropped and it was on my end and I've had nothing but technical difficulties today, which is funny. It's usually the guest does and not me. So now I'm the Thanksgiving joke, but let's, it gives us a little more time. We can extend the show. We can do whatever we want.
That's
okay.
right.
So we were going with fun Brady Bunch quotes and we're almost done, but I thought it would be funny to continue the joke. So anyway,
That was Cindy.
You are correct. I'm not a snitcher. I just tell it like it is Cindy. You are correct. Thank you for the audience returning, you guys. I don't know what happened during the drop show. We'll edit it together in post. We probably won't, but you know. Anyway, okay, here it is. The next one from the Brady Bunch. Who said it? If there's anything I can't stand, it's a perfect kid.
Ooh. I don't know.
The answer is Alice.
Alice?
Can you imagine your housekeeper says that? There's anything I can't stand, it's a perfect kid. Okay, are you ready? Here's the next one.
Oh,
Jan, if boys don't find you attractive, don't blame me.
That would be the middle boy.
It's a female character. They're all from female characters. Yeah.
All females. That would be Marcia.
It is Marcia. That's correct.
Yeah.
Hey, if boys don't find you attractive, that's too bad. Blame dad's side, right? Like, like screw off, dude. Who cares? That's too bad. All right. So now my personal favorite one. Okay, my first. Are you ready? I couldn't stop laughing when I read this one. This is 100% true. They said this on the show. You shouldn't put down a loser, Cindy, because one day you might be yourself. Oh, I'm sorry. You shouldn't put down a loser, Cindy, because you might be yourself. I can't read. You should. You shouldn't put down a loser, Cindy, because you might be one yourself someday. Just remember that.
That's Jan.
It's Carol.
Oh, Carol.
Can you imagine saying that to your kid? She's like, listen, Cindy, you're probably going to be a loser too. So don't be throwing rocks in a glass house, you stupid.
That's right. Good.
To me, I thought that was the funniest thing to say to your kids. So I immediately called my kids and I said, hey, don't put down a loser because you might be one yourself someday.
You might be one.
You might be one. Exactly. I thought what great parenting advice from Carol Brady.
Oh, yeah.
Debi, it has been wonderful to talk to you. Before we go, please tell the people, what do you have coming up? Do you have anything coming up? Anything you want to mention?
Well, I can't really talk about it, but hopefully something really wonderful is in the works, and hopefully I'll get to be part of making someone else's dream come true. And again, it was kind of God-given. So I'm looking forward to that. I just recently moved out to the Coachella Valley, the Palm Springs area. And so hopefully I'm just going to be doing a couple of local things out here. And again, trying to navigate what this landscape is with our industry. I wanted to be involved with commercials for the rest of my life, and I got a good national, which was a commercial, and that worked with an elephant, by the way. I just couldn't have had a better. That's when I first came back to the Los Angeles area. So that, I want to continue doing the commercial work. And if somebody could find a good, meaty, serious, juicy role that isn't a Jewish fortune teller, elderly woman from Mars, which I can't wrap my head around, I'd be happy to do it. So yeah, lots of good things on the way. Recreate, which we tend to have to do every so often.
It's so funny because you're the most realist guest that I've had, probably because, like you said, the roles I get offered, you know, and the people I've talked to on my show, there's a woman I've talked to who plays a nun who has to exorcise a shark. Like, that's where we're at now in the industry. Like, like you said, a meaty, juicy role, maybe not something where I have to play an old fortune teller right? Like, yeah.
From Mars.
From Mars,
right,
exactly.
That was a real audition. And I'm also all about letting people know that women in their 50s and 60s, we aren't elderly. Just going to say it straight out. I just think that there is things that we get left out of because they think of us as being old or granny-like or whatever. I'm a grandma and I'm dang proud of it. Hi, Kaden and Reed and Ford. And sorry, had to get that in there. But we're not past our prime. There's stories for us, and should be more stories for us. And we see all this inclusion going on in Hollywood. Let's include seniors. Where and we still kiss. It's okay.
My God, my kids are watching this show. Old people still kiss? No. It's not even old. You're not even old. I find myself, I'm almost 50. I find myself the same bracket, getting aged out. Yeah. I find myself where they're starting to cast me, and I play younger, but I have to keep working. I have to play younger. And then they keep trying to get me to advertise products, like you said. All I'm advertising is stuff I don't use. They're like, hey, do you need arthritis medicine? And I'm like, do I really look that bad? Like.
Cialis, Viagra. I mean, it's like, really?
Right. And then I said to them, guys, I don't use this shit. And they go, yeah, but people who look like you do. What are you going to do? Right. So
they wanted me to dye my hair gray. And I'm going, do people not have any imagination? This is Hollywood, people. I can go black. I can go gray. I can go red. I can go long. I can go curly. It's called a wig, so I don't have to dye my hair.
Right.
This is who I am. And this is, just so you know, this is how I've always been. They wanted me to go in auditions when I was a young girl. Hi, I'm Debbie. I said, no. But if that's what the part is, I'll be glad once they say action, I'll turn that sucker on. But every single time. So thank you for the compliment.
Because, and it's funny because they accuse me of dyeing my hair. They go, oh, you dye your hair because, my beard is a little gray. And I go, no, I don't dye my hair. Like, so that, you should dye your hair. You shouldn't dye your hair. You should lose weight. You shouldn't lose weight. If you're meant for the role, you're going to get it. Right. I mean, I think that's what we learned.
And I learned that as a young, and that's also the thing that carried on through my, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too pretty, you're not pretty enough. All of those things. But for that one person, I was just right.
And that's it. Right. And we watched Jan struggle with that for years, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I can't. I have a couple more. I'm going to extend the show a little bit because I'm having too good of fun. I hope you don't mind. You didn't take the part in The Exorcist. I wanted to touch on that. You didn't take the part, and I forgot to ask you this earlier. Before, usually I end of the show with what do you have coming up, but you didn't take the part in The Exorcist, and you said it was for personal reasons. Obviously, we all know the contextual story of The Exorcist, and but I'm assuming the reason is because you just didn't want to throw up on screen. Is that why?
Oh, throwing up, that's easy. I've recently been to YMCA camp, and I'm sorry, it wasn't YMCA. It was the Christian church retreat, and I had recently accepted Christ into my life, and the darkness and the satanic part of the movie, I just said, for me at that time in my life, it wasn't the right thing to do. Why? I was so lucky, Jason, because my mom didn't force me into doing anything that I didn't want to do, because then comes along a movie that was dark, but it was called Come In, Children, with where they made me into a 70-year-old woman, and it was dark and demonic-ish. We got to film in Houdini's old house in Los Feliz, and it was fabulous. But by that time, again, when we go through periods in our life, we kind of morph and change. But I knew for me that The Exorcist wasn't the right time and the right place for it. And I still didn't do it.
You still are glad you didn't do it, and and Linda Blair sort of got obviously stereotyped as that character, and whatever. Obviously, from there on, it would be harder for her to work. But and I figured that was the reason. I figured it was the religious aspect of it. I knew it wasn't that you were just like, well, I'm not going to make a movie where I lie in bed the whole time. I'm not that lazy. Can ask my kids. I have seen my head spin around a couple of times. Right. Oh yeah, I know. If you're a parent, I'm sure your head is spun around.
They were growing. Yeah. Here's work. You just haven't perfected that skill yet.
But later on, did you do? I think you were in a movie called Brotherhood of Satan.
That's it. That Brotherhood of Satan is the Come In Children that I was talking about.
It's that, right? Okay, Brotherhood of Satan is that movie. So boo on The Exorcist, but Brotherhood of Satan is a yes.
Go figure.
Are demons real?
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
And do you say that because you've seen the seedy underbelly of Hollywood?
No, demons aren't an entity to me, an entity, a touchable, seeable thing. Demons are here, and I think we all have them. There are angels. I can tell you that much. My mom passed like 5 years ago, and she shows up all the time, and I can't see her, but we had a special number. This is so strange. We had a special number, 213. And when I moved out here, I bought new sheets for the bed, and I went to sleep one night, got up the next morning, and the little inspected by stickers, they're teeny tiny. And I had an itch under my arm, and I pull it off, and I'll be darned if it doesn't say 213. Now, that number, why didn't it say 841? Right. So I got up, and I went to make myself a cup of coffee, and coffee machine is blinking 2:13. And I went, okay, hi, Mom. You know, and it just, she shows up with that 2:13 every once in a while just to let me know she's here. So yes, I do believe there's demons and angels.
And
but today
what?
today there's turkeys.
Turkeys. Yeah, there's a lot of those. But what about tiki idols? Can a tiki idol be haunted? Can it be cursed?
A tiki idol?
Yeah, like let's say you were surfing and you lost the tiki necklace and then you got hit in the head by a surfboard. That would be pretty weird, wouldn't you think? What if you went to Hawaii with your family and then the tiki idol led you to a weird cave and you had an adventure? That'd be weird.
What about the tiki room, Jason? When you go to Disney and those things just they talk to you.
What about that?
Yeah.
That is pretty deep. You're right. So would you believe an object could be haunted?
I've never experienced it, but it could happen.
It could. I mean, like, it could have happened to somebody like Greg or Peter or any of those kids.
Good.
Debi Storm, tell the people where they can find you. Where can, if anybody who wants to give you a media role or a commercial, where can they find you?
Debi Storm, DebiStorm @AOL.com. That's my personal email, and so they can find me there and find me through you. You'll know how to reach me.
There it is. That's true. That's true. You know, no one's ever said that on the show. No one's ever said that I can put them in contact. That's true.
There you go. I'm on Facebook as Debi Storm, and I'm on Instagram, a new Instagram. Oh my gosh, I'm a new Instagram person. I went to Texas to be with my grandsons for 2 days, and we did a little when the sun goes down on my side of town. Right?
Yeah.
Put it on Instagram, and in like minutes there was like 2,600 views. There's 150,000 views on this thing now. And I went, oh, now I get why the World Wide Web and the internet is so powerful. Didn't get it before. Now I do. So that's fun.
It's really interesting that you just discovered the internet. I mean, that's really great. You know.
I Instagram. Yeah, I'm a little slow, but I'm learning. It took me like probably 7 times to try to film that thing, and get it uploaded. But I did it.
Right, like any other audition, it takes a few takes and before you get it right. It's interesting though that you're like, hey, don't count us out as we're not old, but here's my AOL email address.
I knew. Okay. That's her bitch, babe. I knew you were gonna give me crap about that.
My wife says, I said, I wonder if I could say, so you were there when television was invented and you decided I wanted to be on it. And my wife says, you're not allowed to make old people jokes, Jay.
No, but now that you know me, you can make any kind of joke you want because you're not far behind me.
No, I'm not. And I tease and tease. And you know what's funny is I watched a little bit of your take yesterday and Warren, who obviously is in Florida, our producer, Warren Madden, who's in Florida. Yeah. And he said to you that I make fun of Florida a lot. And you said, oh, I would make fun of Florida a lot too.
Absolutely.
So I really enjoyed our conversation. It was wonderful to talk to you. To the audience, look up Debi Storm, you guys. She's amazing. Follow, check out her IMDb. You can Google Debi Storm, just like it sounds, DEBI Storm. Next week, tune in. I don't know who our guest is. Producer books them and he tells me. So you guys, it's been wonderful. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Before we go, look at this inflatable turkey. Shout out to this inflatable turkey. That's about as much as I want to do for that. I didn't want to eat the turkey, but I wanted to share that inflatable turkey. And I wanted to thank everybody. Thank you, Debi. You're amazing. And
you are.
I hope to get down to Palm Springs. I'm right around the corner from you. Maybe we'll get together one day.
Come on down. You've got a home with you and your family.
Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye.